And I said, okay, I will take a few classes just to prove to you how much I'm going to hate it. And then 10 years later, I became his first female black belt.
And now, coming to you from the K2 studios in San Diego, California, it's the world famous Chris and Christine Show.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? How are you doing today? Thank you so much for listening, and I am Chris.
And I'm Christine, and welcome to the 90th episode of the Chris and Christine Show.
Fantastic. The great, fantastic number 90. 90 episodes. Amazing. We're almost to 100.
I know that. I can count. And how many times do you think you're going to say 90 this episode, Chris?
90 and 90. You know, we are on the 90th episode. If you don't know this, 90 episode.
All right. Everybody got it. So we're 10 weeks away, 10 episodes away from the big triple digits. We're almost there. Hooray.
Wow. Fantastic.
I sound so enthusiastic.
Well, I am super excited because how many podcasts make it past episode 7 or 8 or
well,
even 10?
I know you're going to quote those stats to us, Chris. So at what percentage of podcasts pod fade after the 7th episode?
A lot. I don't even know the numbers, but it is a lot of episodes that do that.
Well, I am excited to share with you that you get the full level of snarkasm from me today.
What? Christine's on her snark machine.
It sounds almost like I'm like taking something inappropriate. No, I'm just a little bit snarky today.
Well, if we do sound a little different today, speaking of which, snarkasm, is that we are using a new toy to record this podcast right now. We are using the PodTrack P4, so it may sound a little different. Everything's being recorded directly onto the thing, not the regular computer, because the computer decided to be not playing nice for the audio.
Yeah, and so we're just trying something different today, but it's called the Zoom PodTrack P4, right? So is it like owned by the people that created Zoom?
It's not Zoom, what you would think for your meetings and your online stuff. It's a different company called Zoom. I think the Zoom you're thinking of is called zoom.us. This is just zoom.com. Zoom, I think. I don't know.
That's kind of weird. It could kind of confuse people to make them think like maybe this is what you use when you're Zooming. I don't know. But thank you for that distinction, Chris. What made you decide to, well, you already said why we're doing the PodTrack P4, but what do you love about this device?
This device, it's if you have a podcast out there, or you're thinking about doing a podcast, I would recommend getting this thing called the Zoom PodTrack P4. It retails for about $200 everywhere you buy it from. And what it is, it's the size of what? Maybe a checkbook or a small woman's...
It's not a checkbook. It's like a size of a small, like a medium-sized wallet.
Yeah, like a medium-sized wallet is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And what it is, you can connect 4 XLR microphones to it, 4 headphones to it. You can play sound effects. Let's try something. How's this? See, you can play things like that right on the device. And you can take phone calls, plug your phone right into the thing.
Ring, ring, ring.
You can...
this is your future calling.
It's...
Great story. Compelling and rich.
Did you really load those on there, or did it come on there?
No, I loaded that one on there.
Gosh.
But you can load...
Too much.
I know. It's got a sound pad on here, so you can load a few things to it. And you can take your phone, plug your phone right into it. Or my phone's not plugged into it right now, but if it were, you can actually play any audio that's on the phone, any sound effects, anything you have, you can play directly into the session live. Records everything multi-track. And... yeah, it's a new toy, so we're playing. We're playing with it.
Well, you are. You like to play with toys.
Who does? I'm a
but
big
you know what
kid
it
at
really
heart.
looks like? I'm looking at it. It looks like a triple-sized taser.
It does. It reminds me of the walkie-talkie back in the old Star Trek days.
Oh, yeah.
Captain
Or like
Kirk.
the original cell phones, too. Like gigantic, where it's like...
The brick phone?
Like the one you see on Pretty Woman. It's like in the opening scenes of Pretty Woman.
It is. It totally reminds you of that.
Yeah.
It does have that taser shape, though, how it's like the handle where you put your hand on, it's kind of thinner than the top where the electrodes would be at, and they shock people with it.
Right. But the thing that's cool about this is that we don't have to actually have the computer running. So could we like take this on the go and like podcast when we're, like in Mexico? Could we go and like record it and then upload it and not have to like run it off of a computer the entire time?
That is a fantastic question. And yes, you actually can. This thing is 100% portable. It runs on batteries, like AA batteries, which are pretty much available anywhere. And you can record, I think on the batteries, you get maybe 2 hours of recording or something on the thing. portably, so you can plug your microphones into this thing, be like the man on the street, and totally get audio from people and record with like decent microphones plugged right into the thing, and your headphones into it. It's all portable. I love it. I mean, I think it sounds a little different than we're usually used to, but it's just because it's so clean and clear.
Oh, I love it. Well, thank you for introducing it to us. We've only had it for, a year.
In the box.
Yes. And Chris has used it one time for my birthday surprise?
Yeah, I called your sisters on it, and because I plugged my phone right into the thing, and I was able to call them that way and record onto it this way. And this is the first time that you and I are actually using it for the podcast itself. So here we are.
You fancy, huh?
I am
You
fancy.
huh?
So hey, babe, how has your week at work been this week?
It's been pretty low key. I mean, just busy, and lots of our school districts are getting towards the end of the year. I'm wrapping up some of my big projects. I'm done with school. And, I've just been like trying to figure out what to do in my free time. And not that I have a lot of it. And so I've been just doing some projects, some work projects and some side projects for my side hustles.
Ooh.
And just kind of figuring out what's next for me in terms of I'm always a person that has to be productive. And so I'm learning how to let my body rest after, 3 years of really plowing through school. My body is just trying to like rest and recover and reset. And so, I've just been doing that. I guess the bad news is this week that I had something really, really difficult happen is, I think it was on Wednesday. I'm pretty sure it was on Wednesday. I got this call on my phone and it said spam risk because, AT&T tells you now like spam risk when it comes across. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to answer it. And then I went to my voicemail and it was actually my bank. And I verified that it was actually my bank calling to say, please call our fraud detection services. There's been a transaction that we wanted to ask you about. And so I'm always leery of calling just the numbers that they leave for me. So I went to the website and I called the actual bank number and I talked to a real person. And I normally check my account on the app every day because I'm like super aware of what I'm spending and making sure I'm not overspending, staying within my limits. And I hadn't because of the weekend, Mason's birthday weekend. I hadn't checked for 3 days. And sure enough, I logged in right before I called the bank and somebody had hacked my account.
No.
And they stole all my money.
All of your, they
like completely drained my checking account.
Whoa.
And it dipped over into my savings and it took half of my savings and thousands of dollars were gone. And there were 22 transactions that went through. Ranging from like $45 to $120 because I have an alert anytime something's spent over $150. It pings me just to let me know so I can go in and check. But, some of the charges I noticed when I went back through, they were testing out my number and it started with Target.com. So I don't know how that happened. I don't know how they were able to successfully get it through Target.com.
Maybe they know. Maybe somehow they saw that you shop at Target regularly, that maybe they figured you may wouldn't notice, maybe?
I don't know, because I had made a Target order 2 days before, and then all of a sudden I had like this extra 36-cent Target charge, and then the next charge at Target was like $117, and then they went to Walmart.com, Ace Hardware, Power Sports, Boating something. Everything was online, some really web restaurant. They were buying gift cards. And after 22 transactions, the bank finally blocked it. They even went to Sears. Like, I didn't even think Sears existed anymore.
Yeah, they closed down around here.
Right. So, after 22 transactions, the bank finally flagged it. 22 transactions in 24 hours, mind you, but it was under the daily limit of, $2,500, whatever. And then there was an attempted additional 15 to 18 transactions that were declined that were all increasing in amounts. So they went from like 50 to 120 to like 250. So it's like, I think that they were like trying to see how much they could get. But basically that's been rough because they had to cancel my card. And first of all, and we're not going to get into this on the air, Chris, but I love my bank. I've been with my bank since I was 18 years old.
Okay.
And I've never had a problem. And they're almost always on top of the fraud detection. And they did catch this. I mean, it was 24 hours late, but they did catch it and alert me to it. Or otherwise, it could have kept going for a bit. But it is a credit union and it's based in Central California. So there's no branches down here. But it's easy because I can bank at any credit union. Like I can go to their ATMs for free. But I can't go inside of the branch and like normally bank there to withdraw money and just be like, here's my account number. Can I get money out? So that's challenging right now because I can't, like my card's closed off and I had just used the last bit of cash I had in my wallet the day before to tip a server at a restaurant. And so I was like, I hate using credit cards, but I just kind of had to default to that. It was a little bit frustrating. And then, the one thing that I'm super thankful about is that this all happened the day before payday instead of the day after. I would have been so devastated.
You took your whole entire paycheck.
Right, because I still haven't received the money credited back to my account from my bank because they're investigating the fraud right now. It shows all of those transactions since they flagged them as fraudulent as pending, but the money's still been taken out of my account and I can't access it. It hasn't been given back as a credit. So what they were telling me at the bank is they go back through and they try to get the vendors that the charge was made through to credit that money back so the bank's not out that money. But it would be nice if they just gave me my money back and then went after the vendors to get it back for themselves instead of making me be out the money, which I did nothing wrong.
You know, it's like with credit cards. I believe if this was a credit card, they instantly would refund you the money.
Right. They give you like a provisional credit.
Actually, the thing is that because it's a credit card, technically the cash, it's not really taken out of your account immediately like it was with a debit card.
Right.
So it would just be a charge on your credit card that you don't have to pay because they'll take care of it.
Right.
That's why I would recommend if any kind
No. This is not the time, Christopher. I know what you're going to do. You're going to say, I wish that you would just use a credit card all the time. Nope.
That's not what I was going to say. What I was going to say is that anybody that makes any kind of purchases online to use a credit card, and you say, why a credit card? Because if there is a fraudulent situation where they hack your account or steal your stuff, you can always dispute that, and the credit card company will always make sure you don't have to pay that.
Well, thank you very much for making me feel like a complete idiot. I appreciate you.
No, because you were not using your credit card online, your debit card.
Just said I used it on Target.com.
What, you did?
Yes, I told you I used it on Target.com 2 days before because I had to get the leftover stuff from Mason's. And so, anyways, so don't do what Chris just did, everybody, where you just throw me under the bus. Thank you very much.
I didn't throw you under the bus.
As if I didn't have a bad enough week. Now you understand the snarkasm, everybody. So let's flip it over, Chris. How was your week?
Well, my week has been fantastic. It's been amazing. So.
Well, tell us about it, Chris.
All right. Are you ready? Buckle up, Buttercup. So if you remember, last week I mentioned that we are going back to the iHeartRadio Music Festival in Las Vegas. Well,
now, is it you and me or is it you and a child?
Well, we haven't decided yet. I think it might be me.
So I don't know if I earned my keep to be able to get in there.
Of course you did, baby. You know you're VIP. Come on, you're coming on with me.
Whatever.
Over to the festival.
Maybe it should be me and one other kid, and we could let you like hang out in the hotel.
Maybe. So I know if you're thinking, what is the iHeartRadio Music Festival?
I thought you talked about this last week.
Well, don't you worry, because if you go over to our website at chrisandchristineshow.com.
You almost forgot what it was. Chris and Christine with K's.
Yes. Go to our website right now, and you'll see right on the front page, I put together a video explaining what the iHeartRadio Music Festival is. It's right there on the website, right on front. It's an amazing video.
It's flashy.
It's very flashy.
Flashy.
And it has all the artists and all the musical events that we saw when we went there in a quick little 2-minute video.
Woohoo!
And it's fantastic.
So that's what you did this week?
That is one part of the week I did. And the second part of the week, over on my other podcast.
Oh, wait, hold on. The second part of the week, you blamed me for not using my credit card online so that I had fraudulent charges.
Can we move on past that already? My goodness.
You can move on. I'm still stuck on it, but Thank you for rubbing salt in the wounds. What did you do for the third half of your week?
Okay. So I know I have another podcast. It's called Podtastic Audio. You can find it at anchor.fm/Podtastic Audio.
And who came up with that name of Podtastic?
I think Christine did.
Yes. Yeah, that would be me. Is there another Christine?
No, just you, baby.
Yes, me. I came up with it.
Yes.
It was
fantastic.
So what happened on it this week?
Okay.
Did you bomb?
Bomb?
Like, did you bomb? Did your episode crash? Like, what happened?
Well, I was actually running late with the episode because I had 2 VIP guests scheduled to come in on Wednesday. See, I usually release episodes on Tuesday, record something Monday, send it out on Tuesday. But I had these VIP guests scheduled for Wednesday, and I didn't know if they're going to show up or not. So I'm like,
what?
So I'm like waiting.
You didn't know? They're so nice. Of course they were going to show up.
Okay. Well, I wasn't sure because we've had guests on this show cancel. I have a guest on the other show cancel too. So it is a thing people do sometimes before the day before. So I don't like to even mention we have a guest coming out until it actually has been taped and recorded, because that way, for sure you have the recording, you have it, and you can actually say, yes, this guest is coming up next week. So I didn't want to say that until I actually had these guys booked. They were booked, but I didn't have them officially recorded yet. So Tuesday comes, I email them making sure, you guys still on for tomorrow? And they say, yes, can't wait. At that point, I got super excited. And then I plugged a little bit on Instagram, social media. They got some guests coming in, VIP guests. And so I did get these guests on the air. And
who were they? You keep saying these guests. Tell us, who were they?
Okay, these guests. If you know anything about our podcast, we do a lot of interview style shows. We do it all through a service called Clean Feed. It's what we use to record all of our stuff. It's an online recording platform which you can record yourself, and you can record your guests, and you record lots of guests, and it sounds extremely clear. It's probably the clearest sound you'll ever hear on the internet, computer to computer. In the world.
We really love it. And it's so easy to use.
It's amazing. So I happen to get the creators of Clean Feed, Mark Hills and Mark Bakos, to come onto my show and talk all about it.
Is it Mark Hills or Mark Hill? Because I think it's Mark Hill.
Is it? I thought it was Hills.
I think it's Mark Hill and Mark Bakos.
Anyways,
Bacchus.
I got both of those guys to come on via Clean Feed onto my podcast. We had a great conversation. We talked for like an hour. It was fantastic.
I love listening to that episode, not only because you did a great job with it, but I kind of fangirl when I hear both Mark and Mark talk, because they have this amazing British accent. They're both from London, one from the north side and one from the south side of London. And it's just so classy. I don't know how else to say it. It's just like smooth. And it's like, well, first of all, I love British TV shows. Like, what have I been watching all day today?
Downton Abbey. And I love Bridgerton. And I think they call it an Anglophile. Like, I love like period pieces from like the late 1800s, early 1900s, set in London specifically, or around the London area, the UK in general. And there's just something about hearing like very classy professional gentlemen speaking about their craft with a British accent that I'm like, I get a little bit swoony. I'm not going to lie. Don't get jealous. I get that too. It's like the same thing. Reason why you see a lot of people will have like British female voices for their voiceover work. It kind of sounds very like intelligent and very smart, So, but Mark and Mark, they
are very intelligent and very smart.
They are, and they have a very, very good voice. Of course, these guys have like very good gear. Like they're audiophiles, so they have like probably like $1,000 microphone and all kinds of equipment.
But they've also been in the business, like in radio for a long time. And so they probably also have like good voice training. I don't know. They're good at what they do, and they've developed an amazing product. And I loved listening to the episode where they were sharing about Clean Feed with you. And what I loved about it is, and I think it goes along with Podtastic Audio being like for the beginning podcaster or the like hobby podcaster, is the way that you and them spoke together. You were able to break down this really complex content that maybe could be very like geeky and nerdy that, you could be talking over our heads, and make it very accessible, where I was like, oh gosh, I totally get this right now. Like, And that's a really technical concept. Like, oh, I get talking about the little packets. I think you were talking about packets of
You know what's funny? That section about the packets, I was talking to Mark afterwards, and he says, maybe we should cut that part out. I said, no, I kind of like that. I kind of like the whole, we talked about how the internet kind of works, how everything gets broken down in packets and sent over the internet, and then your computer unravels it and puts it together. But we're talking about audio, especially high quality audio, that has to happen very quickly. Like it has to break the packets apart and reorganize them, all done in like super, super fast timing. And it was kind of funny. We actually, there was something they called a latency test. They showed me how to do it. And what you do is you got to count like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You count, and then the other person kicks in at 4 to match your pace, and then you'll hear the difference. And that's the latency between the two sides of the conversation.
Interesting.
Because they were coming from London, and here we are in San Diego, and the miles, it's got to be like, what, 5,000 miles away?
I don't know, Chris. How many miles is it?
I didn't look it up. It's like 5,000 miles away, and it sounded as if that we were in the same room, and that's why I love Clean Feed.
Well, I'm so excited for you that you were able to get 2 of your podcasting superheroes onto the show. And I know, and we actually had an opportunity to meet with them a couple of weeks ago, just as an informal conversation. And we were just so flattered that they would take time out of their super busy schedules to be able to talk with us and learn about us and learn about our podcast. And, I just am so grateful for how many super interesting people that we've met along this journey that, 90 weeks ago, if we were in almost 2 years now, if we were to look back, I would have been like, oh, well, this is just going to be, a fun thing for Chris and I to fight over every week as we try to figure out fun content. But I love it when you and I get to do episodes by ourselves, as long as we don't fight over the content creation beforehand. I'll call it brainstorming, emphasis on the storming.
I get the thunder.
But I do really love it when we have guests and when we get to connect with individuals from the podcasting community. Don't you, Chris?
Oh, I think it's fantastic. That's what I told Mark, is that when we found Clean Feed, we realized how clean it was. I said, Christine, I think we actually have guests come on this thing with this new toy I just found out about, And the thing with us is that I think a lot of podcasts, they always say it's better to have everybody in the same room joining you, having the conversation. But with a tool like Clean Feed, it does give you that illusion that we are in the same room. And that's what I love about it.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And I'm so grateful that you found Clean Feed, because we've been able to have just some really interesting guests. And that is very true for this week's episode, right, Chris?
This week, we have a lady, very, very fun lady. And she happens to be, get this, a real-life ninja.
Hiya!
Hiya! So don't mess with her, guys.
No, but she is just such a genuine person and has such a heart of gold. And we learned some super valuable lessons, not only about her craft, her martial arts, but also about life and how to live life to its fullest, right, Chris?
That's right. And we will have her on the show right after this. Hey there, K2 crew. We love having you as our loyal listeners.
To keep up to date with what's happening behind the scenes, check us out on social media.
Yeah, you can find us on Instagram and Twitter.
And don't forget to follow our Facebook page.
Yeah, tag us in your favorite fun stories, and guess what? You might just end up on the show.
Ooh.
Today's episode is brought to you by Baruch. Now, Baruch is an electric toothbrush that will change the way you think about brushing your teeth. With powerful sonic technology and ultra-gentle bristles, the Baruch redefines what it means to have super clean teeth. It's like that feeling when you first leave the dentist. A fresh, whole mouth clean every single day. Our listeners get 15% off total purchase with code POD15. Follow the link in the show notes and enter the code POD15 to get your exclusive discount and upgrade your oral care routine.
And welcome back, everybody. Today we have another fabulous VIP guest. She is a podcaster, an author, and a real-life ninja. Welcome to the show, Cheryl Ilov.
Thank you so much, Chris and Christine. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Hey, Cheryl, how's your day going today?
My day is going great. Couldn't be better. And I have to tell you, this is the highlight of my day. So things are just rolling along just
Wow.
beautifully.
It's a highlight of our days, too.
Yeah, we're so excited to have you on this show. And where in the world are you joining us from, Cheryl?
I am joining you from the Mile High city of Denver in beautiful, colorful Colorado.
Colorado is such a beautiful town. I've been there one time, or Colorado is a town. Denver is such a beautiful town. I've been there one time and I went to this famous hotel for high tea. Was it called like the Brown Palace or something like that?
Yes, ma'am. It is the Brown Palace in downtown Denver. And, my husband and I our Christmas tradition. We don't have any family here in Denver. So our Christmas tradition, we go for champagne brunch every Christmas day. And it is just so lovely.
Well, I was staying at a hotel across the street from there. And I went and I walked over and I had high tea over there in the afternoon. And it was just so fabulous.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's so elegant and the service is so wonderful.
Hey, Cheryl, do you guys is Denver a big brunch city? I know San Diego's got a big brunch thing. Is Denver big on their brunch?
It seems to be, but honestly, since this past year, everything's been, shut down, closed down, whatever, it's a little bit confusing if we still do brunch anymore. But yeah, it used to be a really big thing. So I'm looking forward to having all of that open back up again.
Oh, me too. I love a good brunch.
I do too.
Yeah, it's a wonderful excuse to have breakfast all day long. I'm a fan of Brinner too.
I call it Linner, really.
Well,
Linner.
that's lunch and dinner. Brinner is more of breakfast for dinner. So I'm a brunch and Brinner kind of girl.
Basically, we're all a bunch of foodies is what you're saying.
Exactly. Well, I'm so excited that you were able to join us today, and you have a very interesting bio. But before we hop into some of your ninja-related information, we'd love to know a little bit about your professional background.
Well, I am an author, but I became a published author for the first time in, when was it? June or July of 2016. So it's all been 5 years already. I'm also a speaker, and that was going pretty well up until the time COVID hit, and then things kind of shut down a little bit on that too. I am also a ninja, which we will get to later. And I am a recovering physical therapist. I'd like to say recovering physical therapist because I really never did do traditional PT. I was in private practice for 18 years and I did alternative physical therapy practices based on Pilates. So I did Pilates-based rehabilitation and conditioning. And then as I was growing my practice, I added something called Feldenkrais to the mix too, which is a very sophisticated form of neuromuscular re-education and rehabilitation.
Now, was this all done when COVID hit? Did you transfer everything over to like an online Zoom type of platform?
That's a really good question. Actually, I closed my physical office exactly 4 years ago in May. So it was May of 2017. And there were a confluence of events that kind of just came together that said to me, you know what, you're done. It's time to stop, take a break, look into a third career of speaking and writing and educating people in much larger groups. But because of COVID, and because I've been doing a lot of things online myself, like taking ballet classes from my ballet teachers online. And it was a couple of months ago, I did a mental head smack and I said to myself, hey, you could actually reopen your office and do it and offer your services online. So basically, I have launched my online program exactly 4 years to almost the day that I closed my physical office. So it's very exciting for me.
That's amazing. And, I have found that so many different services are now being offered online that I so wished would have been offered previously. Whether it's mental health counseling or virtual doctor's visits. And, I didn't mind going to my doctor's office, but I would find that I would not schedule appointments as frequently because it's like a 35-minute drive and it was just inconvenient. And so now I find myself a bit more willing to schedule and keep my appointments because I can work it around my busy schedule, not have to take a half a day off of work for it. So have you seen an influx of people coming to you now since we've been in the land of COVID for 14 months?
In the land of COVID. I like the way you put that. Actually, I have had really a lot of interest in what I'm doing. And even like my previous clients, they're not the ones who are contacting me. They're more people who have either never heard of me, never heard of how I work before, never heard of something called Feldenkrais, which I do. So it's an entirely different population that I'm able to reach. And especially, like you said before COVID, we really didn't do as much online. And I think that because of COVID and out of necessity, people were then, okay, what can we do? How can we pivot and find a solution? So now it's almost like, why didn't we think of this sooner? Because it is a lot easier. I mean, I know when I take my ballet classes online and it's a real easy commute, all I have to do is walk down my stairs and I'm in the ballet studio. I don't have to put on makeup. I don't even have to wear deodorant if I don't want to. So it's just really convenient.
You said ballet. Are you do you perform ballet?
Well, no, not at this point in my life. And I've never been a professional. I actually did do some, semi-professional performances and stuff when I was younger. But honestly, I didn't even start my dance training until I was 20 years old, which is really, really old for an adult to start taking ballet and to pursue it as heavily as I did and as seriously as I did. But, full disclosure, I will be 65 in September.
Ooh, you youngster, you.
I am just a baby. I swear I am just getting started. It's such an exciting time. And I still do take ballet class at least 3 times a week. I still do the point work a little bit. And I also do a different form of dancing. I don't know if you'd be interested in that. Not a lot of people know about it.
What is it called?
Well, some people call it fit pole. Some people call it pole sport, and some people call it pole dancing.
I love pole fitness.
Wait, did you say pole dancing?
Yes. A sister after my own heart. I went to, they called it Pole Star Fitness. I went to a Pole Star Fitness class one time, and it was so much fun. We went for a girlfriend's birthday party, and it was just like 7 of us ladies with the instructor, and oh my goodness, I have never sweat so much in my entire life and been so sore the next day, but had so much fun working out.
It is so much fun, but it is so hard. I mean, at first, when I first started as a beginner, and full disclosure, when I turned 58, I decided it was time to start engaging in more age-appropriate activities.
What does that mean, age-appropriate at 58? What do 58s do?
They start pole dancing.
That's what I thought. I thought so. Yeah.
And the best part was when I told my husband I was going to be doing this. We were having brunch, as you know, we all love brunch. Yeah. So we were actually having brunch at this little Mexican restaurant not far from where we live. And I said to him, well, I'm turning 58 in a few weeks. And he says, yes, I know. And I said, so I decided that it's time to start doing something more age appropriate. And he just sat and he waited. And I told him what I was going to do. And he just looked at me and he said, I love you.
Oh, that's so cute.
Is that code for him to say, do whatever you want to do?
Yeah, pretty much. Yes, it really is. That's another one of those code things. But I said, yeah, I know. And then he said, I'm never bored. And I said, yes, I know. So,
how many years have you been married?
Let me see. We got married in, oh my goodness. Our 35th wedding anniversary is coming up in November.
Ooh,
congratulations.
Well, that's,
Thank you.
We should ask you for marriage advice because today, as we're recording this, happens to be Chris's and my 6-month wedding anniversary.
Is?
Yes.
Oh.
So we need some tips from you, Cheryl.
6 months already. Time flies. You're having fun.
Yes. So I know first thing is I should get into a pole fitness class. Okay. Yeah, how else can we keep the fun going? We are family friendly, but what are things that you found to be of benefit to keep your connection and friendship strong?
Well, okay. Well, Christine, you've already come up with one solution, which is go to, the pole studio. That'll keep you, we're on the right track. And Chris has already noticed, yes, dear.
Yes. Yes. Say a lot of yes dears. And yeah, I figured that out way early.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I think you guys will be great. I mean, it's obvious that you have like really good connection and great chemistry between you. And I'm telling you, you are really taking your marriage. This is the acid test. If you can do a podcast together and go through all of this together, you're going to be fine.
Ooh, there's sometimes that it's a little bit harder.
What? Not for me. This is easy peasy. I love doing this. This is great.
Yeah, well, all that togetherness, and that's so my husband and I have been married for 35 years, but we've actually been together it'll be 46.
Wow, 11 years before you got married?
That is my math wrong? Oh, maybe we've been together. We were together for 7 years before we got married, so my math is wrong. So only 42 years.
What?
Still, 42. That's a tremendous.
Yeah, that's still a long time, but nothing has been as challenging. I won't say difficult, but challenging as this past 14 months with COVID, because my husband used to travel a lot with work. And of course, I was always in and out, going about my life. And then all of a sudden we're together 24/7.
Was this like the first time you guys were really this much together at one time for this long of a time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons why our marriage was so strong, because even at the very beginning, he had his own interests, I had my own interests, and then we would come together. So we gave each other the space to pursue, our hobbies, our activities, and be away from each other. So then when we did come together, we were stronger.
That totally makes sense. And I know that we've seen the statistics coming out during the time of COVID with so many couples being home together a lot it's fracturing relationships because it's people that never intended to be around each other as much. And yes, we love each other and we want to be married. But then when you're in space with someone and you have no separation, gosh, it just brings out the worst in people at times.
It can. You think it's all going to be fun and dandy, but then, I mean, when you're with somebody that much,
it can be hard.
It can, yeah.
I guess that this is the nice thing for us, Chris, is having this experience of me working remotely at the beginning of our marriage and going through COVID helps us gives us a taste of what it's going to be like in retirement, right?
Yeah.
Actually, that's one of my husband. My husband has been talking retirement for the past couple of years, and I just shudder. And it was like, oh God, no! How's this going to work out? And one of my biggest fears was, well, what if he's not working and he's not traveling and he's home all the time? What am I going to do with him? And so then I guess I found out. So this was really good, like a dress rehearsal, let's just say, for retirement. But honestly, I really don't think that any couple, any family, any relationships are meant to be together 24/7 the way we all have been in the past 14 months. So the fact that we can, survive that, you can survive anything.
Definitely. It has taken a lot out of people. And so we're kind of coming out on the other side of it. And, talking about that, people have been in their homes and they've been restricted in terms of, for the lockdown, being able to leave their homes and be out and as active. One of the things my friends and I have been talking about is how our bodies don't feel as flexible. And I was wondering, with your expertise and background in physical therapy, as well as in your other interests, would you encourage people to start loving their body and moving slowly so that they can get back to their pre-COVID flexibility?
You couldn't have said that. I mean, I couldn't have said it better because you nailed it. Moving slowly and loving your body and not beating yourself up for, maybe those late night, binges or the comfort food. I know what my go-to is like chocolate and pretzels and
ice
a little
cream.
bit of Yeah, well, yeah, and red wine. And, we've been under such a tremendous amount of stress. So the first thing that I would say is just do not beat yourself up. This is a great opportunity for you to rediscover your body again, rediscover yourself, and learn how to love and respect and appreciate anything and everything that your body can do. And one of the things that you said that was just so impactful and powerful is to move slowly, because when people think that it's time to get back into shape, they want to just hit it really hard or go to the gym or just kind of beat themselves up. And that is the wrong thing to do, because you're going to you're going to end up getting injured. You're going to just get discouraged because you're not going to see the results that you want right away. So remember, it's all about taking those little baby steps. And one of the things, if you get nothing else from this conversation, is I recommend everybody who's listening to this is to get one of those large exercise balls. If you don't have them, you can order them online. You can get them at Target or different, I think they even sell them at some of the health food stores. But one of those large exercise balls just to be able to sit on.
Is it like a big beach ball, right? But like
a big beach ball, but a lot
thicker.
Sturdier.
Yeah, you can hold more weight. How much weight can those things hold? Do you know?
Oh, it depends on the ball, the maker, the size of, the ball that you get, because they do come in different sizes.
Right.
But roughly 300 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so they can hold quite a bit then.
Quite a bit. And the balls that they make now, when they first, were making them years ago, because we used them a lot in physical therapy, there was like the fabric or the material that they used was fairly thin, and they could puncture. And if you got a puncture, boom, they would go flat. But the ones that they make now is the material is much thicker, and it is puncture resistant, and it's adhering. So even if you did take a pin and stuck a pin in the ball, it would slowly deflate.
Oh, that's
so you
good.
wouldn't, boom, hit the floor. And it actually happened to me in my girl cave down here at the beginning of the pandemic. I knocked a lamp over, and I thought I cleaned it up pretty well. And I've got those exercise balls of every shape, size, and color, in my girl cave. And I was talking to a friend of mine who happened to be a chiropractor. And so I'm sitting on this ball, and all of a sudden I realized that I felt like I was shrinking. And she was looking at the screen and said, are you getting lower? And I said, and then I listened, I could hear a very, slight hissing noise. And I said, oh my gosh, Carly, I think I have a sliver of glass. And I did. So during our entire conversation, you could just see my head going lower and lower on the screen.
Fantastic.
That's so funny.
So that's definitely a safety feature now that they've got. So it's wonderful. And it's one of the best things you can do for your core strength, flexibility, balance. It's fun.
What is your thoughts, Cheryl, on all those new, the fad with the desks that you can elevate to where you can stand at your desk? What is your thoughts on the whole standing desk thing?
When it first came out, I kind of poo-pooed it because I thought, I don't know, is this is this for real or what? And I really didn't like that they were advertising sitting is the new smoking, because I was a respiratory therapist before I was a physical therapist for 17 years. And trust me, it's not the new smoking, but sitting for prolonged periods of time is incredibly unhealthy and brings a lot of wear and tear on your body, just because you do stiffen up, and it slows down your circulation, your lymphatic flow, all that good stuff. So being able to change position like that, because standing for long periods of time isn't that great either.
Right.
But if you're in the standing position, if you're able to be cognizant about shifting your weight back and forth, putting one foot forward or even one foot on a small a book or something, it really takes a lot of pressure off your spine. So I do like the fact that, in that upright position, you can just change positions. And I think that that's the best thing, is that it reminds you that you don't have to sit there.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And when I first started the work from home back in March of 2020, we have a desk chair that Chris bought for me, because otherwise I was just sitting on this kind of old, broken down kind of office chair that we had. So he bought me this really nice one that said that it was supposed to be ergonomic and had extra support. And after a couple of months of working from home, I would get up and I would be so stiff and like I would have this sciatic pain and then I was having these massive migraines and I was like, what is going on? And then I realized that my chair didn't have enough support for my back and I was having, because I had to do back to back to back Zoom meetings for like 6 or 7 hours a day. And I didn't have my standing desk. So then I was kind of hunched over. And so fortunately, we were able to go and pivot and get my standing desk and my actual ergonomic chair that they have to purchase us for the workplace because it's, better for your back. But the other thing that I did is I started doing the standing, but I had to have like a mat underneath me, whether it was a plastic mat or a rug, because we have wood floors. And gosh, that if you're barefoot and doing work at a standing desk on wood floors for hours at a time, that can kill your back.
Well, it's like at those convenience stores. They have like the workers that stand in front of the counter. They'll put like that thick rubber mat.
Yeah, like the little gel mats or whatever.
That they stand on, and not just the floor itself. I can imagine, even with shoes, even with good tennis shoes, standing on solid pavement all day, it's got to hurt your feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not good for your feet. And like Christine said, I mean, it just kills your low back. So, you know what? If you have a yoga mat, not a yoga mat, those yoga blocks.
Oh, I don't have any, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and you can, again, you can get them at Target, order them online, whatever, and just use that yoga block. And as you're standing as your desk, prop one foot on the yoga block, and you would be amazed at how much pressure it takes off of your low back. And you can just do that for, maybe 20 minutes or so, and then switch legs. And that really makes a difference, not only on your low back, but on your hips as well. And even like with the migraines, another thing to remember, it doesn't matter what kind of chair or what kind of, standing desk that you have. When we're staring at screens all day, they're like our eyes are glued to the screen. And when we're looking that intensely with our eyes aren't moving around. And that really has a big impact on the muscles of our neck.
Oh, wow. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it actually tightens them up. It's something called the vestibular ocular reflex. So if you just take a few minutes to take, your eyes and just gently move your eyes back and forth, like side to side, up and down, it's amazing what it does to help relax the muscles of your neck.
Yeah, so I'm always looking off somewhere when Christine's talking to me. She always tells me, look at me. Well, I'm actually I'm flexing my eyes.
Yeah.
I'm relaxing my body right now.
Yeah.
Well,
You can tell them,
they've started
it from me.
Oh, yeah. They've started in some of our workshops that are like multiple hours to do, they call them like gaze away breaks. So they'll say, okay, for 1 minute, we're going to have everybody just gaze away, take your eyes off of your screen, look anywhere else in the room, stare for a minute, stretch your arms. And it is nice to know that, because otherwise you are like glued to the screen. But enough about work from home stuff. I'm super interested to learn more about the ways that you've stayed fit and flexible as you've moved past your 58th birthday, which you had previously. And we were reading your bio, and Cheryl, we just had to have you on the show because we've never met, even virtually, a real life ninja.
Yeah. Well, and I never thought I would ever be a real live ninja. I mean, who thinks like that? But, and that is part of my health and fitness journey, but I don't know how much of my bio that you've read. But one of the things that really helped accelerate me into this world of health and healing and alternative health and healing is the fact that I was a chronic pain patient.
Oh,
And oh, yes. In my mid-30s, what started out as a little bit of vague discomfort and tightness in my low back quickly spiraled down to a full-blown chronic pain syndrome where I had pain shooting across my back, down my hips, down the back of one leg, all the way into my big toe. And it was absolutely devastating and incapacitating. And I was a respiratory therapist at the time. So, I was really deep into the Western medical model. So I went to the doctors, did everything I was told. I took all the medications. I went to all the physical therapy, sessions, got my massage therapist. I did every single thing, saw all the doctors, and my pain just kept getting worse. And instead of getting better, I was spiraling down. And it wasn't until one of my my doctors told me that I was never going to be able to do my grocery shopping and my laundry all in the same day because the arthritis in my spine was so severe, I would end up being bedridden.
Oh my gosh, that's devastating.
It was very devastating. And I looked at her and I said, you don't understand. I'm planning on going back to ballet class. And she
Yeah.
laughed in my face.
Oh, no.
Oh, wow.
And she said, you don't understand. You are a chronic pain patient. This is your new normal. You will never have the life you had before, the life that you thought you were going to have. And she knew one of my goals was to try and get into physical therapy school. And she says, you can forget about physical therapy school. She says, even if you could do it, which you can't, you are way too injured. She said, you're just way too old.
Oh, wow. And when people hear that type of information about, especially when it comes to chronic pain, I've heard that that's where a fraction of the opioid addiction comes from, when people start chronic pain management and they have to turn to opioids because traditional over-the-counter painkillers aren't working anymore. And, lives can spiral. It becomes a very hopeless place in a person's life. So how did you stay away from that hopelessness and cling to something different?
Well, you nailed it. It was the hopelessness. And it took, I went home, I hit rock bottom for a few days. And for some reason, I don't know, I just had this epiphany. I don't know if it was my fighting spirit that I never even knew that I had, that I probably have had all my life. It was like, no, this is not my new normal. This is not the life that I chose. This is not what, I deserve better than this. My husband deserves better than this. And I'm just going to have to figure it out on my own. So basically what I did was I fired all my caregivers, much to their chagrin, because they thought I was going to get hurt. Well, that ship had already sailed. I was already in so much pain. I could barely move, and I had to cut back on my work hours, and it was just a nightmare. So I fired all of them. I stopped taking the medications. I stopped doing all the stupid exercises and stretches that the PTs were giving me.
Good on you.
They didn't. Yeah, thank you. Because they did not help. And so what was the point? It was pointless. So I did know enough Pilates at that time. And obviously I had had enough of a dance background. I understood movement. And intuitively, I knew that when we were babies, nobody taught us how to move, right? We taught ourselves how to move by exploring our environment, figuring out what worked and what didn't. So every single day I would get down on the floor and I would just kind of dissect some of the Pilates mat exercises and do some of the movement patterns. And how does this make me feel? Okay, that hurt my back. This made it feel better. This is what I need to do. This is what I need to stay away from. And just by using my own self-awareness and self-exploration, the way we all know how to do, we were born with that. We kind of lose it as we mature. And by doing that, and I added acupuncture. So between my own work that I did for myself and the acupuncture, it took at least 6 to 8 months. It was very tedious. It wasn't easy. But I came back.
That's so amazing.
Yeah. And look at me now. I'm a 64-year-old pole dancer.
Wow. So the chronic pain that you had, did the acupuncture, did the whole process take away most of that, if not all of that?
No. It's almost like a system of unwinding. My back, even though the pain, spiraled out of control very quickly, what you have to do is kind of like unspiral or unravel the sequence of events. So it does take a little bit longer to do that. And maybe it's just because we're so aware of the pain at the time. It may have taken me that much time to get into that much pain. I don't know. I could not speak to that. But basically, you're kind of reversing the symptomology and kind of like trying to unwind things. So it's a very slow process. The acupuncture would calm me down, that's for sure. And it would take help to reset my nervous system and actually help to take away some of the pain by decreasing some of the inflammation.
That makes a lot of sense. And one of the things that you were talking about was finding out what movement felt good for your body. And, we see a lot on social media about fitness and, you should do this, get fit quick kind of thing. And, come and work out with me for 30 days and I'll get you, come to my boot camp and I'll get you results. And, a lot of people get focused on fitness for weight loss. And one of the things that I think is unique in your story is you were approaching not fitness, but overall body wellness. And sounds like you kind of, you rolled from this like Pilates movement into, was it martial arts that got you into being a ninja? Like, what was that journey?
Well, that came later. So I actually began my martial arts training at the tender young age of 47.
Ooh.
So as you can tell now, I do everything, later in life. I mean, when people are quitting things is when I start them, but I did not go willingly. My my teacher actually was my acupuncturist.
Oh, wow.
And well, he was a new acupuncturist. He was somebody I met when I was 44. And somebody told me, oh, you ought to try this guy. He's really great, blah, blah, blah. And he does shiatsu and everything. So I thought, okay, I'll try him. And the very first time I'm lying on his table and he's sticking needles in my legs, he got a very far away look on his face. And he said, with your legs and my coaching, I could teach you how to kill with these things.
What? I don't know if I should take that if I was a compliment or what.
I mean, I'm laying there, literally, I was pinned to the table. I could not move, right? And all I'm thinking is, oh my goodness, who thinks like this, let alone says it out loud?
And you're like, and he has needles.
And I can't even get up and move. And so I just kind of said, well, thank you for offering, but no, I think I'll save my killer legs for ballet class. Long story. It took him 3 years. And every time I went in for a session, he would talk about his art of a ninja and he'd talk about his Ninpo. And, he had his martial arts school right next to his clinic. It was like a duplex. And he kept trying and trying to get me. He said, oh, you'd be so good at it. And oh, you would love it. And going on and on. And finally, after 3 years, I capitulated and I said, okay, I will take a few classes just to prove to you how much I'm going to hate it. And then 10 years later, I became his first female black belt.
Woo, congratulations. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Thank you. In 20 years of teaching, he never had a female achieve such a high rank. And there I was, the middle-aged princess, that broke that glass ceiling. And, full disclosure, I did have a really traumatic event right before I had met him. And basically I was in a situation where somebody had taken away my power, silenced my voice. And so I was dealing with the effects of PTSD at the time. And when Mark heard my full story, it was probably a year after I had met him, his campaign to get me on the mat went into, high gear. And I'm like, I don't understand how being in a room with a bunch of sweaty men in a smelly dojo all hitting each other is going to make me feel better or help me heal. So another reason why I signed up for the classes was to prove to him that it wasn't going to help me at all.
Well, so you were trying to get back at him. I'm going to prove you wrong.
Yeah, and kind of that backfired on me. So, it was pretty quick. It was, I don't want to say it was immediate, but it was very quickly I fell in love. And I fell in love with the art. I fell in love with the training. And I really fell in love with the sense of empowerment that I got from training. And, most of the time, I was the only woman in class. It wasn't like a lot of these karate studios or taekwondo where they have a lot of women. Since
Right.
our art it's kind of obscure. It's not very well known. And it is a very classical type of ancient Japanese martial art. So you can't get a black belt in 2 years. And a lot of people, when they start training in martial arts, they have their eye on is that black belt. Well, I never wanted a black belt. I never wanted a yellow belt. I didn't even want a white belt, but it came with the uniform.
It did. It did what Jacob Mason have, honey. Don't they have the white belt or
they
white?
They went from a white belt to like
white
a
with a stripe?
yellow or something.
No, it has a white with a stripe on it.
White with a yellow stripe on it, I think.
A stripe or something.
Well, our
Anyways.
littlest ones pre-COVID were in jiu-jitsu classes. And, and so we'd just gotten them started and finally just bought them all of their sparring gear.
Where is that stuff at?
I know. We have to get it.
Well, they ordered it. They ordered it and then COVID.
And so we never received it, and it's probably too small for them now. But that's one of the things that I was going to bring up is I don't know if you've ever watched this show on Netflix, Cobra Kai, and it's very popular. Have you seen it?
I have not seen it, but I know it's kind of like a takeoff of the Karate Kid from all those years ago. Is that right?
Yes.
It's like a sequel. Like what they're doing now kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like them as adults, but it really shows like the discipline and, I mean, two different sides of it. Discipline-based martial arts and then like revenge based, like I'm going to teach you to like get revenge. And so there's two different sides of it, but I think that it's really revitalized an interest in the martial arts. And so I would love to know a little bit more about how yours is different from like a traditional karate. Do you get to use weapons or anything?
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. I've got a ton of weapons. They're right behind me now as we're recording this. They're on my weapons rack in my girl cave, my FemiNinja girl cave.
Okay, can you list them off? What you got?
Or like samurai swords kind of weapons?
No, they're not samurai. They are, but basically they're not. They're katanas. They're not, sharp, because when we do purchase a sword, we have to bring it to our sensei and he checks the blades just to make sure that they're not too sharp. And if they are, he has us dull them down because he doesn't want any accidents. And I did have a bad day at the dojo.
What's the fun of that?
Several years ago, I actually slit my own wrist, which it was really kind of funny. It wasn't bad, but it did bleed. But, there were a lot of men in class. It was a very full class. And sensei was giving us, instruction. And all the guys around me were yelling instructions to me. And it's like, just please be quiet so I can listen to sensei. And we were putting our swords, we were resheathing them. So as we're resheathing, and the guys were just, like yelling, do this, do that. And it was like, no, I'm going to listen to sensei. And I just turned my head just a little bit so I could hear sensei. And I felt this burning pain in my left wrist. And I thought, that's not good. So I looked, and you know how when you cut yourself and it's just really kind of like white, and then all of a sudden it starts to bleed?
Yeah.
That's basically what happened. So what goes through my mind, as a medical person, when was my last tetanus shot, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm good. I'm covered. And then, so I put my sword back in the sheath, and I'm walking off the mat holding my arm. And I says, yeah, I'll be right back. I cut myself, but I'm just going to clean it up. I'll be right back. And so the guys started freaking out.
Oh, wow.
And one of the guys was yelling, and he's a psychiatrist. He's just as crazy as a loon. And he was saying, you need to go to the hospital. You need to go to the hospital. And I said, Larry, I've seen more blood than this in a point shoe. I think I'll be okay. But yeah, so it was one of those days. So yeah, you need to be careful with the katanas.
So wait, I'm so confused because I thought that, and call me clueless, but I thought that when you're a ninja, you're supposed to have sharp swords to like shank people.
Shank people?
No, but if they're not sharp, then are they just for looks, or is it like showmanship? What do you use them for?
No, we definitely do practice with them. But, when you are practicing with a live blade, things can go wrong. And so that's why we always start, like the children in the children's classes, they have these padded sticks. So they're swords. Those are their pretend things, because you know how kids are.
Right.
As adults, we use what's called bokken, which are wooden swords.
Okay.
So we practice with wooden swords. And then once we get proficient with that, then we're allowed to bring out the real swords.
Do the wooden ones feel like the same weight, and do they feel like the metal ones? Like if you were to close your eyes and hold both, could you tell the difference?
Yes.
Okay.
You could tell the difference, yeah. The wooden ones definitely have a different feel to them.
Right.
But there is nothing. My first sword class, I'll never forget that, because it was almost like this thing was coming alive in my hands. It was just amazing. And I remember looking at my sensei and said, the sword is sexy.
Oh, I love that. I always wanted a katana to hang on my wall. I've always wanted one.
Well, I mean, she's talking about poles today and swords, Chris. He's like lighting up. He's like, all right, Christine, go get to martial art.
Yeah, and it's well, you wanted to know how to liven up your marriage or make sure that things it really is. It's so amazing because when you have something like that in your hand, you have so much respect for not only the weapon, but for yourself, what the weapon can do, and that weapon actually becomes a part of you. So it's a tremendous amount of like this mutual respect. And even in our art, we always talk about like our spirit is in the weapon. And when we use the weapon and we train it, with that weapon is ours.
Right.
And it's just like there's an incredible connection between you and the weapon. I know it probably sounds crazy, but and I used to think it sounded crazy until I felt it myself.
Do you have other than the katana, are you can you use any other weapons? Have you been trained on?
Yes, there is the bow staff, which is a 3-foot long stick.
It's like the broomstick.
It's but it's smaller. It's about 3 foot long.
Okay.
And then we have the rakshako bow, which is the 6 foot long stick, which would be closer to a broomstick. And now that you mentioned that, even before I began my training, and my sensei Mark was trying to talk me into taking classes from him, he would always say, "Oh," and he'd get that look on his face again, and he'd say, "Everything's a weapon." And I thought, okay, this guy's nuts, right?
I think I heard that in a movie once.
Karate Kid. It was the chopsticks. We got the fly.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
There you go. And those are weapons. So, and he said like, even like toilet plungers are a weapon and broomsticks and, he's like the blinds, the pulleys. And I'm going, this guy really is nuts. But you think about it, that 3 foot long bow staff could be like a toilet plunger. So It's a household item turned into a weapon, and the 6 foot long staff. And that's basically how the ninjas trained, because they were fighting against or trying to protect themselves against the samurai who would just kind of go through their villages and test out their swords by just, cutting off a few heads. Oh yeah, the sword works. So that's pretty good.
Gross.
So they would attack villages. Exactly. And so the ninja, they were peasants. They were farmers. So a lot of their weapons were their farm tools that they trained in and taught each other how to use so they could protect themselves.
That makes a lot of sense, because when I think back to movies that I've watched where they are the actors, there's some like storyline that includes some type of martial arts. What you'll notice is them using anything as a weapon or to block.
That's what I'm saying, like in the movies.
Like
right?
a chair or, like you said, like grabbing the blinds, like the top of the blinds off, or, getting a...
Like all those Jackie Chan movies.
Yes, getting some picture off the wall, or like the curtain rod for the bathroom, whatever it is. Everything it has utility. And it's very interesting that you say like what you've trained with, because it makes me think about that. But I was wondering, and again, you could, call me naive, but what about nunchucks? Because our boys would love to know if you can use nunchucks.
Yes. Yeah. But we haven't trained. I haven't done a lot of training in them, but yes.
I just imagine hitting myself in the face with those.
That's probably what happens. There's probably a big warning label on the box that says, "Do not hit yourself in the face."
Yeah. I think when, we train weapons, there's, and again, a lot of things have been kind of on hold because of COVID and all that stuff. But when it came to be, nunchuck day or nunchuck month or whatever, when they would be training, nobody showed up for class for some reason.
Really? More nunchuck training for you.
Yeah, it's kind of like, okay, that's going to be a little too owie. I think I'll stay home and do something else. Yeah.
Hey, Cheryl, I got one big question when it comes to all this ninja stuff. Now, can you karate chop a bunch of bricks or wood or any of those cool things they do on TV?
No.
Is that really a thing, or is it fake?
No, I think that it is possible, but why in the heck would I do that? It's just like, to me, that's not functional. Even if I could do it, it's like, what's the point? Because I might hurt myself, right? And then I wouldn't be able to use my hand weapon, if I needed it against a human being. I mean, if you could do that, imagine what you could do to a person.
Right.
But to me, that's just showing off.
Showing off, yeah.
Yeah, and good for them. I'm glad they can do it. But
how
I'm not
do they
gonna
do it though? Like how is it even possible without breaking your hand?
Well, a lot of training ahead of time.
It's a lot of mental training too, right? It's like mind over matter kind of stuff. So it's kind of, in my mind, it might sound like a stupid comparison, but it seems like the karate chopping like a phone book or bricks or wood or whatever is along the same lines as like people walking across hot coals at, one of those like personal development conferences. It's like the mind over matter, that I can do this and not get hurt. But it is kind of a flashy.
It is definitely a mind game or a mindset, and as well as toughening up that edge of the, we call it the edge of the blade, which is actually that edge of the hand, of toughening it up and practicing, with softer targets, and then gradually making the targets harder and thicker until you can get to that point. But it's so funny that you mentioned the personal development aspect of it, because I have a friend, he's a martial artist here in Denver, and he works with another friend of mine who does these business boot camps. And I've done the business boot camps a couple of times. And the very first time they said, okay, at the very end of the first day, we're going to break boards. And I'm rolling my eyes going, I'm not going to be breaking any board. This is so stupid. Where's the door? I'm leaving. And one of the women who was sitting next to me, and she says, oh, don't worry. I've done it before and you can do it. Don't be afraid. And I'm like, I'm not afraid. I says, in my art, we don't break boards.
Yeah.
We break bones.
Ooh. I like that.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
And I break hearts.
That's all right. Well,
that's funny.
This has been super, super interesting, but I would love to know more about your podcast and your book and a little bit of where our listeners can find you.
Okay, great. Well, my podcast is called The FemiNinja Project, and it is about overcoming obstacles, personal empowerment, restoring human dignity, one person at a time, finding your voice, standing your ground, alternative health and healing, living well and looking good. So you can find me on everywhere you can find a podcast. I also do have a website, www.thefemininjaproject.com, where I have all my episodes and a couple other like cool, fun ninja stuff there on that website. My book is Forever Fit and Flexible, Feeling Fabulous at 50 and Beyond. You can find it on Amazon. You can also go to my other website, which is CherylIlov.com. There is no E on the end of I love, so it's just ILOV, CherylIlov.com. And I am currently, I'm so excited. I just submitted my second manuscript. So this is my second book. Yeah. I'm hoping it'll be published by September. And the title of that book is The Reluctant Ninja, How a Middle-Aged Princess Became a Warrior Queen.
Oh, okay. So we're going to have you back on the show to talk about that when it comes out, because I want to hear more about that story.
It's been a lot of fun. Well, it's been a lot of fun and a lot of heartache writing it, because, my journey hasn't always been easy. And especially being the only woman a lot of times.
Right.
A lot of fun stuff, I got to tell you. And I just want to make sure I leave everybody with this. I call them the many magnificent men in my life.
Yeah, I like that. I've had many magnificent men too.
What?
And, these are the guys. Once I got used to them and they got used to me when going through my training, I could not be where I am right now without them. And it just gave me a whole new relationship and how to be friends with men. It's just amazing. It's just so much fun. And they did a lot. They actually taught me more about how to be a lady and how to tap into my sensuality, which I didn't think I had a problem with before. But it was just really fun. The martial art I do is very sexy.
Ooh. Now Chris is really like, all right.
You woke me up.
Write that down, Christine. Well, Cheryl, it has been such a pleasure to have you on our show today. And to our listeners, definitely check out Cheryl's book, her podcast, look her up on social media, connect with her, especially if you're looking for ways to, stretch and get flexible. And maybe the traditional gym isn't just the right fit for you, but more than anything, get to know your body and what makes it feel good and what helps you feel fit and flexible. And Cheryl, thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Chris and Christine. It has been an honor. It's been a pleasure, and it's been a lot of fun.
The Podbreed Network is strictly for the small podcasts that are up and coming in the vast world of podcasting. Podbreed is made up of many diverse podcasts coming together to achieve the same goal of being the best damn podcast network on the planet. Find out more at podbreed.com.
Well, that was such an interesting interview, Chris. I really loved that.
Oh, she was fantastic. Cheryl was the best.
Yeah, and we get to be a guest on her show next.
What? We do?
Yes, we got an invitation. You heard her. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. How are we doing it? Like Zoom or something?
Yeah, we're going to do it on Zoom. So we don't typically do Zoom, but I'm really excited to be able to do that. And you and I have actually been talking about that because we're getting more requests to be guests on other people's show.
It's just kind of fun. A lot of people want this whole video thing, Zoom thing. We'll try it. We've never done it, but we have the stuff to do it. We have
a green screen.
I know. I got a green screen for the computer here. And I've got a really good webcam I have, which I haven't really used much. And I think Christine has one of those like ring lights. So we maybe get
We're going to do a whole setup in here.
Oh,
we're going to look good.
And I'm thinking for the backdrop when we do the actual like Zoom stuff, because I know you can put like on your green screen, you can put different images of stuff. Now, can you do like an actual like video image of like the ocean or something?
Yeah,
like that?
You can have it like moving behind you. That's kind of weird. But yeah, you can do all different kinds of things. We'll have to figure out what we want. But I envision us almost being set up kind of like a news anchor desk. And it'll be like,
oh, yeah.
Tonight's evening news, a kitten was caught in a tree and a brave firefighter caught it. Back to you, Chris.
Okay, and at the orphanage today, the Batman swung by and he gave out little frisbees.
And then we're gonna do like the weather behind, and you could do like because they use green screens for
totally.
the weather, and so we could be like, and there is a cold front moving through the Southern California region. I could even, I could try and dress up like one of those newscasters that you love to watch so much.
Oh, you totally can.
Yeah, you like the weather girls.
Oh, I totally do. Oh, yeah.
Okay, enough.
But we have this little like miniature table. It's like a skinny little table. What kind of table would you call that?
It's a small banquet table, but it's only 4 or 5 feet long. But it's thin, so it's like 24 inches wide versus like a typical banquet table's like 3 feet wide and like 6 feet long. And so this will be really nice because it'll give us a little bit of a buffer from the desk. And then we could like sit with our chairs and it'll be good.
And we'll put our microphones up there. It'll be like 2 microphone stands sitting up. We'll have our headphones on, obviously. We'll have everything plugged into the thing. And then hopefully everything runs good. Hopefully the computer will handle that. Because today I cranked the computer open and I've never, ever actually opened the inside of my computer and looked inside the computer before.
Oh, wow.
It was only one little screw. It took it off. Like one little screw, took it off, took the cover off the side. And then you can see all the bits and parts and all the little different fans. And
was it covered in dirt?
Yes, that main fan that Mark was talking about. He said you need to clean out it's called the heat sink fan. There's a fan next to the heat sink. And I saw that. It looked like a little radiator. It was just covered with dirt and muck and gunk. And we're talking like 8 years of buildup on that computer.
Gosh, you do maintenance on your cars all the time. You would think you'd be better about maintenance on your computer.
I thought they were good to go. I don't know about this stuff. I just know you turn it on and a mouse and a keyboard. What else is there?
You're such a dork.
But I cleaned it out. And it was so funny because this computer used to be so loud and super hot. And after I cleaned it, like, honey, you can't even hear it at all. The door is wide open to the little box it sits in, and you can't hear anything.
It's so quiet.
I thought it was dead. I was like, is it even working? I checked it. It's working, but it's super quiet now, and because it was so loud, we had to build this little like fuzzy like little wall out of cardboard and put it right over. I did.
Oh my gosh, it was so funny. The day that you were doing that, I was like, you should get Gorilla Glue to be able to glue it on. And so you went to Joann's or something or Walmart and you came back. I know you had the cardboard from one of my boxes, but then you came back with this like mattress padding kind of stuff. And then you were like frustrated. I was sitting at the table and I don't know, you just like blew up and I asked you what was going on. You were like, it won't stick. And then I think I asked you what you were trying to glue it together with, and what did you show me?
It was just a glue stick.
It was a glue stick.
Like for the paper.
Yeah, and you were like, but it said, what did you say? It said foam or something like that.
Right, I'm trying to glue it on there.
It was a purple glue stick.
So I made it kind of work. It's like a little.
How did you finally make it work?
Well, I think I used duct tape on the thing.
It looks so rigged.
When in doubt, duct tape the thing together. So all it did was I kind of would block the computer because the computer it's a tower computer and it sits like in this little like cubby hole like drawer of the computer desk.
And with that description, everybody, I'm sure you have an exact picture of what that cubby / drawer /
Well, it's a cubby hole.
It's a cupboard in the bottom of the desk.
Right, but it has, just like most cupboards in your pantry, there's no ventilation to this thing. So it doesn't get any air. When you close the door, it like suffocates the computer, which we usually keep the door open.
Well, then you should just take it out and put it underneath your desk so it can have ventilation.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
But anyways, it sits in there and it was getting so hot and so dusty and so noisy. And we try to record a podcast. You got this noisy computer next to you. You have to find ways to block the sound, which was my little makeshift foam cardboard block wall I built and I put over the thing. Only problem is that after we were done recording, I removed the wall and it would be like opening an oven.
This computer's on fire.
It was. You know what's funny? When I pulled the cover off the back of the computer, I saw these like look like burnt marks on the inside walls of the computer. Like, you know, when if you burn something,
it's so dangerous, Chris.
But it wasn't burnt marks. It turns out it was just dust that like pocketed on those corners.
Oh my word!
It looked like burnt sections.
Okay, you're too much. Well, I'm glad that you were able to get that figured out, and I'm really glad that we were able to interview Cheryl on this week's episode. And I loved talking with her, and we were even telling the boys about our interview with her, and they're so excited to listen to it because they're all into like jujitsu and they love the show Cobra Kai, and they're like, hey, yeah, you know, karate, whatever. But I really loved how she was talking about what the martial arts have done for her in her life and, you know, just giving her purpose.
That sounds fantastic. I loved it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so thank you all for sticking with us this week. And we hope that you got a lot out of this interview and this episode. And we are going to leave Cheryl's info in the show notes. So make sure to check her out and her podcast. And we will be back here with you next week. Remember this week that life is too short to wake up in the morning with regret.
So love the people who treat you right, forget about the ones who don't, and believe that everything happens for a reason.
If you get a chance, take it. If it changes your life, let it. Nobody said that it would be easy.
They just promised it would be worth it. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Chris.
And I'm Christine, and until next week,
keep moving forward.